Today, we present the story of Dorothy Sallis, who was born on June 6, 1925 in Taylor, Mississippi. Ms. Sallis was raised in a rural community by her grandparents. Her grandmother has served as a source of inspiration for Ms. Sallis to pursue a career in the social services. As a young woman, Ms. Sallis was encouraged by her family to move to Waterloo, Iowa, and have a better life. While in Waterloo, she obtained a bachelor's degree at the University of Northern Iowa, raised a family, and was active in her church and community affairs. For 25 years, she worked for the 1st Judicial District and became the first African-American woman to be a juvenile court officer in Iowa. She is a lifetime member of the NAACP, a member of the National Black Social Workers, and she started a Waterloo chapter of Black Social Workers. Ms. Sallis has received numerous awards for her outstanding community service and involvement in local and national organizations. She has always lived by an expression her grandmother always used: do unto others that you would want them to do to you.
What was it like growing up in Taylor? Were you in the urban?
We had lived on a farm, and I lived with my grandparents.
Once you got to the other side of the woods, what did you see as the school itself? Describe it, the teacher. What was the educational environment like then at that time?
Well, the school, like I said, was like one room. And at that time, when I first started, I think it was up to the 9th grade. It was first to the 9th grade. It wasn't in the kindergarten. I never went to kindergarten. There wasn't any kindergarten at that school. It was just the 1st through the 9th grade. And past 9th grade, they would go into Oxford, which was the closest town to Taylor, larger town. They went there from the 9th to the 12th. But it was, there wasn't very many students in the school. Another thing is, even though school started the 1st of September, most of the students didn't start till, say, 1st of October, because, there was cotton to pick.
Okay.
And most of them helped their parents pick cotton. I didn't have to pick cotton, so I went to school, when it started in September.
What type of influences did your grandfather have on you?
Well, grandfather wasn't in the picture too much, but my grandmother, was always there. And one thing that's really, stick out in my mind about my grandmother, because she was a very strong religious lady. And I'm thinking she said she only went to the 4th grade. But she always told me, see, my nickname was Cat, and that's what she called me, Cat. Cat, I want you to get your education. I want you to get your college degree. I want you to go to college and get a degree. And I think about that. This lady only was 4th grade. What did she even know about college? But yet she told me, she wanted me to go to college.
After your graduation from high school, what would you do at that point?
Well, I got a scholarship to Southern University, but I wasn't able to go to the university at the time I graduated. And the reason, at that time, you couldn't wear pants or shorts, or you had to dress up going to college. That was 1945. Girls dressed, boys dressed. They didn't just wear anything. And I didn't have money to buy the clothes that I needed, because my scholarship only covered the tuition part of it. So that's why I came to Waterloo. In fact, I did get a job, but then I met a young man and got interested in getting married, and ended up getting married and started raising a family. So I didn't get to college until 1969.
1945, where is your career taking you? What are you doing?
I had a friend that lived here. I knew her in the South, and when I got here, I met her and told her I was looking for a job. And she told me about the job, because she was doing some work at the same place. She did like the laundry. Okay. and she said these people needed someone to clean the house, and she would find out if I could do it. And she did, and that's how I got that job. I only worked there, though, about 8 or 9 months, and then I got a better job at Allen Hospital.
It was common that many African Americans during this time were placed in these service sector.
Absolutely.
Domestic.
The job I had actually was in the diet kitchen of Allen. At that time, people who were on special diets, they picked special meals in the kitchen, which was on the first floor. And at that time, they had what they call, it wasn't the elevator, they called them dummies. They sent it up, it came up through the same area, elevator come up, and it sent it up to a certain floor. Then I would take that food off and, and put it in containers, and then it would be delivered into people. And these was people like on special diet, people with diabetes and what have you.
At what point in time would you decide to take your career in a different direction, where you would pursue being a juvenile court officer?
After the children was old enough to go, the last child was old enough to go to school all day, the first grade, then that's when I decided, to get a job. So one day I was talking to a friend of mine who had worked with juvenile court, teenagers.
All right.
And she was complaining, not complaining, she was just saying, I don't like this job. I feel so sorry for these young people, and I go home, I cry, and then my kids tell me I don't need a job if I got to come home and cry. And I said, well, gee. And I was telling her about the young kids, and I said, I don't like to work with the younger children. They crying and want you to take them up in the lap and hug them and all that. And it's too many to do that. Anyway, we was exchanging. And she said, well, I won't quit my job. You might want to apply for it. And I said, I think I will. It was kind of like a joke. And I said, are you serious? And she said, yes. And so she did call me when she quit. I went down and applied for the job. I got called for an interview, and I got hired.
And this position was what?
That was well, at the time, I didn't have a degree. I just still had my high school. So I was hired as a juvenile court officer aide. I was hired one day, and the next day, one of the officers asked me to go to Madison, Wisconsin to pick up a runaway. And I thought that was great. That was really... That was just what I wanted to do, and, and I knew I would like the job.
Was there any pressure coming from that, doing that, being a black woman, representing a segment of the population? Was there any pressure? Did you feel any pressure? Did your coworkers challenge you in any way as a matter of being incompetent or anything?
Yeah, that's what was pressure. But I guess, and I go back to my grandmother, how I was raised, to respect people. And her motto was do unto others as you'd have them to do unto you. And I think that works.
You'd enter the entry-level position as an aide, and then how long would it take you to get your degree before you would become?
Actually, altogether 10 years.
Okay.
So I had 4 children, 1 in college and 4 in school. And I took 1 class a semester for, I think I tried to take 2, and it was just too much. And it was UNIQ. I was one of the first students in UNIQ. One person who was very helpful and encouraged me, B.J. Ferguson. B.J. was one of the coordinators of the Head Start program. And seeing, the work I was doing, I guess the person I was, she would say, B.J., girl, you need to get your degree. Because she said, you do really good work. And that's the same thing my supervisor, juvenile court, told me. She said, you need to go and get your degree. And I said, well, BJ, I want to do it. I said, but you know, I guess I don't trust myself. I had checked the UNI, and back then it was the Teachers College. Mm-hmm. When I first came to Teachers College, and I checked out the curriculums, and I had checked out the high school, and there was classes that high school students had that I never heard of. You know, and coming from the South, it was very different. Mm-hmm. And so that kind of, you know, I started doubting myself that I would make it, you know. And VJ, bless her heart, she encouraged, she said, you can make it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You just try it, you can make it.
I know Ruth Anderson, Dr. Ruth Anderson also.
And she was one of my instructors at UNI, and also my advisor too. Yeah, Ruth was real helpful and encouraged me, you know, to get my degree.
Would this be important to you becoming a juvenile court officer versus an aide? Would this help move you up?
Oh yes, I got the title
okay.
of juvenile court officer 1. That's why it started out 1. And and I really got a nice raise.
Okay. What are you doing as a juvenile court officer? What are two of your primary duties?
Well, the first job, the first 10 years, was they call a field officer at that time. A field officer is you assign cases to supervise. Okay. And of course, whatever is needed for supervision, you are to provide it or find it or whatever. The last 10 years, I worked as an intake officer. And intake does an interview when the child and family comes into the office for the first time. Mm-hmm. You interview, you know, you talk to them and about the case, and then make a decision whether the case is going to court or settle out of court or just what's going to be done.
Did you notice any partial treatment? Any partial treatment as far as the way the cases were handled and certain other juvenile court officers made decisions regarding African American delinquents? And
I recall one particular case with a juvenile court officer that did have a problem with, I guess, his search. Okay. And she was told to, you know, to get, well, at that time, I don't know whether you're too young. They had a person, Anime Weems. You know Anime Weems. Yes, would always have a person, I can't think of his name, to come to Waterloo, and he was real good because they have diversity programs now. Yancey Beaver, that was his name. He would come and he'd have these workshops, and they would, at that time it was black and white. Would go and they always said if you went and completed one, you would be, I'm trying to think of the word, is like when you've been born again.
Okay, all right. This is a good program. This is a good workshop if that's the case.
This guy was good. I went to it just on my own. Not that I had done anything, I had to go. Mm-hmm. But he was good. Okay. He was real good. And the person went to completed that program, and she came back, she was a different person. Mm-hmm. And I would say she was bored again. Okay. So, but yes, it happens. It happens. It happens. Okay. Yeah, it happens.
Now, tell me about your involvement with the National Association for Black Social Workers.
This was the first time in my life I had seen that many African American professionals in one place at one time doing something like this. And that was, that was really good for me. But the workshops they had was very helpful. And I'll give you an example. They had a workshop called if you were the only African American working in an all-white office, or if you was a Caucasian, one Caucasian working in an all African American office. Okay. Some of the things that, workshops like that. Workshops about, placing black children in white foster homes. And of course that was One of the reasons they pulled out from the National Association of Social Workers, because they disagree with placing African American children in white group foster home. Yeah.
They're talking to you now about forming a chapter in Waterloo.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
And we didn't have enough African American social workers at the time. That was in the 70s. They kind of changed quite a few things. In order to have a chapter, you didn't need social workers per se. You could have anyone working in human service area, a social service area, teachers or anything like that. So that's how we were able to start a chapter here in Waterloo.
Okay. So you started that chapter here in Waterloo.
1987.
1987. Are you still involved with that chapter,
No.
working with it? No.
You have to have so many to keep up a chapter, and we wasn't able to do that. Keep enough people, to have a chapter.
Yeah, it had to be a challenge. I
Right.
can see why with the numbers and stuff. So now you're busy in your profession. You're a juvenile court officer. You belong to a number of national organizations, local organizations. Another interesting organization, a very important organization I know that you belong to, was the NAACP here in Waterloo.
I still belong to I'm a member.
Okay.
I'm not active. When I was active, most of the time that I spent was with the youth.
Also, I know that you were working with the Jesse Cosby Center. You were.
Yeah.
What was your role with that center?
I am one of the directors of the Jesse Cosby Choir.
Okay.
And because at the time, now I drive. They deliver what I call Meals on Wheels, and I drive one of the drivers to deliver the meals.
Very active. By any means, retirement has not slowed you down in any way. You've been recognized for your contributions by the mayor, the governor, Cedar Valley, etc. Tell me about receiving the governor's award.
I feel good. It makes me think that I'm worthy of doing something to help somebody, and that makes me feel good.
People from this community have a tremendous amount of respect for you. Your presence is recognized. It was very, and I learned this more so. Yes, I've learned this more so through the birthday party that you had, your 80th birthday party.
Oh,
I thought it was really nice how they put that together for you to recognize, a lifetime of achievement. I know that there were a number of very important people from the community who attended your party.
Yeah.
To recognize your lifetime of achievements, and they even spoke. They said some very kind words about you. Some of the people, what was your reaction to some of their comments and stuff?
I was stunned.
There was clearly a lot of love that was expressed, by everyone in attendance. The numbers was large. There were a lot of important people there who wanted to pay tribute to you and everything you have done for the community. And it was interesting to hear some of the stories that some of the people were saying about you, how you influenced them, how you affected their lives, things like that. Very important things. To sum it all up, that was a great way to celebrate an 80th birthday party, because you got another 30 years still yet to live to go.
Thank you.
Okay. To sum it up, what piece of advice would you give to a student who is looking at pursuing a career in the social services or being a juvenile court officer?
Well, first of all, you need to work hard to get your degree in social work. Keep an open mind. I rely on prayer. Prayer is one of my main tokens. and just, always hope for the best. And keep a clear mind. It's hard to do, but it can be done. And the old motto, do unto others, you have them to do unto you. It's hard to do, but it can be done.
Okay.
Okay?
I like that.
That's what I try to do.
Yeah.
I say I try. I don't always do it. I'm not perfect, but I do it most of the time. And I think that's what have gotten me through. The man above, it's given me that, this life to stay here to do that.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for sharing your story with me. I appreciate you making the time to come down.
Thank you, David.
It's been very interesting.
I enjoyed it very much.
Very exciting. Again, it was a pleasure.
Bless you.
Thank you.
As a dream that I dream of my heavenly home, and I know I'm going